Now, I am gung-ho about talking about the peace in the world, as usual. And rather than the peace, we are talking about war, actually. And what is the war and what is the peace? My effort has always been to promote peace against war, because war does not give any consolation, and it doesn't distribute sweets, and it doesn't gives the flowers to each other. It's devastates people, properties, infrastructure, and decimate the infrastructure and systems of each other's country. But now the war between Israel and Iran has enter into a sixth-day, full-fledged sixth-day war. Need to be examined, need to be seen very clearly, and not to mention the war in in Ukraine. I'll come back to that Ukraine situation later on. But first thing first, I must actually inform you that where it all began. If you think about it, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. This is the global. Well, of course, I'm going back to the beginning. If you really wants to get to the heart of the matter, you go to the beginning. That where it started, where unprovoked, Iran has been attacked. His nuclear plant has been attacked by the Israeli government and by the Israelis without a proof that Iran was building a nuclear bomb. Now, that is the topic that I would like to cover today in detail, that it has been proven by the International Atomic Energy Chief Rafael Grossi. Rafael Grossi has confirmed that there is no evidence, and there was no evidence 2 weeks ago, that Iran was building a nuclear weapon program. Now, the CNN chief journalist, Christine Amanpour on Tuesday, questioned and probed Grossi and acknowledged that Iran has repeatedly complied to the UN Nuclear Agency program, has also confirmed that its report, because it is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, whereby the Israelis are not. And this is something that we do not have any proof. And they said that systematically it's in Iran's effort to build a nuclear bomb and a nuclear ambition. So yes, their program was being peaceful purposes, for isotopes, for medical purposes, for electricity, and all that has been negotiated in JCPO. That has been JCPOA is the international organization under which it has been negotiated that there is no evidence whatsoever. So why there was an attack then? This is the million-dollar question. Similarly, there was no evidence of during the time of attack on Iraq by the UK, US, and all the other parties gung-ho about that Saddam Hussein has got a nuclear bomb. Weapon of mass destruction, as they call it, MMD. So I was actually at the time on News Talk 106 at night time, when the next day, Iraq was being bombed on a false pretext, which has proved later on that it was a false pretext. It was a false pretext in which it has been bombed. Similarly, the same mentality exists here, that there is no evidence whatsoever that Iran was developing a nuclear program and nuclear weapons and getting... And look at the double standard. Look, I mean, see, in a civilized world, you are required and you are absolutely entitled to have a nuclear energy for peaceful purposes because of the development. Day before yesterday, in fact, the UK has announced 15 billion worth of economic energy program, nuclear reactor off the coast of Cumbria. And the waste will go to Sallyfield. Now, that has been on the record, and it has been covered in the media, that once you have, on one hand, other countries are prepared to. Similarly, France have got numerous, not one or two, numerous nuclear plants for the peaceful purposes, and for not only that, but they also openly claim that they do have a nuclear weapon and a nuclear bomb. And that is 100 times deadlier than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So on one hand, you have a double standard here, that you can carry on piling the nuclear weapons. Israel is the only country who had 400 nuclear warheads in its possession. It has been given to him, given to the Israelis by the Americans and the Europeans. You can check out the sources who gave them. But this is a really, infuriating statement that you cannot have it, I can have it. Why can't you? I mean, it's like two guns. If you have a gun, then I have a gun too, and I'm entitled to have a gun. No. You're not entitled to have a gun. I am entitled to have a gun. So nuclear has been a crucial point for years for Iran. And under the cover of this pretext, they have actually rushed through a meeting, a board meeting, which was, International Atomic Energy Agency board meeting. And the governors passed a census resolution against Iran, falsely, obviously failing to comply with its nuclear obligations. That's what their accusation was. And this marks a clarification from the UN nuclear agency following a heightened security and criticism about Iran's nuclear activity. The nuclear activity, which Iran dismissed as a political motivation, it was actually a trap. So they had nothing else, because Netanyahu was bent upon with Donald Trump to bomb Iran and destroy Iran, and he really had this audacity to do that. And then that was the basis of their reasoning, false pretext for completely. And they had never threatened any other country in the past. They have never acknowledged, or in fact, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, has actually acknowledged. Now they've acknowledged. Remember a few years ago when Donald Trump actually tears apart that agreement that has been signed in Geneva, and Iran has negotiated a 30 pages document, under the agreement of JCPOA. Now, it was no longer binding because Donald Trump torn that apart, and it's no longer binding for any countries to, in the absence of this compliance. Obviously, everybody is free to enrich the uranium at level they want, but they again said that we were not enriching the uranium at a level of a nuclear bomb. So why the attack? And why the attack? And why this havoc that has been going on in the last 7-8 weeks now? Well, Iran is not a gullible, nincompoop little country like Gaza or Palestine. It has piles and piles of ballistic missiles, which it would not hesitate to using it regularly and decimating Tel Aviv, because Haifa, Tel Aviv, and many other strategic, the ports and things like that, has been hitting, bombarding, and pounding literally with their missiles. All their missiles, domes, and secure system has failed, and Iran claimed that they have a full access to the entire Jerusalem's the entire Israel's airspace, as the Israelis have claiming that they have entire free-hand airspace because, of course, they have air superiority and therefore they would bomb. They are been bombing and they've been killing over now nearly 500 people has been killed in Iran, and thickly populated, residential area has been bombed. No, that is against the law of any war. See, the war has been fought with certain amount of dignity and rules of engagement. You cannot indiscriminately bomb a country just like that. But they are used to it, and they are very well get away with that because with impunity they had been bombing Palestine and Gaza and West Bank for almost 2 months by killing and uprooting 2 million people. But here is not 2 million. Here's a 9 million people. It's a country. It's a large country of people and Iranians have got a pride in their shoulder by defeating 11 years of war against Saddam Hussein, which was again a trap. It was a war which created imposed, just like this war. It's a completely imposed war, and that war was also, and it's not long ago, it's only about 45, 50 years ago when that war has been imposed upon Iran. But what Iran did, it stuck to the ground, and then it defeated Saddam Hussein and all the backers of Saddam Hussein, which was obviously US and Europe and all that. So this is a similar history repeating itself, but Iran has proven that they have no, ambition or, in fact, they are signatory to the NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty, while the Israeli regime has refused to join that and refused to do that. And, the Iranians have continuously maintained that the country is not seeking nuclear weapons in line with a religious decree issued by the Ayatollah Khamenei. Now, Ayatollah Khamenei is a supreme religious leader of not only Iranians, but the entire system of Vilayat-e-Faqih, the alliance, the people who literally follow over 1.5 million, almost 2 million people, Shias in the world, do follow Ayatollah Khamenei as a rahbar. Rahbar means leader in Ismail, because it allows people to do that. So they are picking a personal fight with him, and pitching him as a Donald Trump claiming that, oh, we know where you are, but we won't kill you now, as if it's in his control to kill that. So this is something which he did that. In fact, if you think about it, Qasem Soleimani, a few years ago, he commissioned it personally and he killed Qasem Soleimani. So they're used to of actually isolating. And his remarks on Tuesday against the regurgitated that debunk claim that Iran is pursuing a nuclear program is ridiculed, and it's all in the record. So that is carrying on the aggression, on that. But you see, the problem is that now it's not only Iran's nuclear capability and people and killing and all that. Iran is controlling through the narrow strip of Hormuz, the literally worthily 80% of the world oil, and that is under control by the Iranians. So if they will choke the Hormuz, then the panic, our petrol would go pumped into crude oil, and petrol and everything will be disastrous to the world, and the world will come to stand still. So this is something which is very disturbing, and I would like to see the peace. I would like to see the ceasefire. I would like to see that both countries would come to the senses, as Xi Jinping has attempted recently, the Chinese premier, to brokerage the peace process between the two countries and step back from the aggression. The Iranians have actually dubbed their Operation True Promise 3 and in its self-defense. And of course, they have right to self-defense if they are attacked unprovoked. unprovoked, and there was no evidence whatsoever. 7 phases has been carried out, and they are inflicting heavy losses over the Israelis and killed. I think they have killed equally number of people, 500 people, and indeed pounding various strategic ports of Haifa and Tel Aviv is the only capital that has been under attack. So they have also attacked a nuclear plant in Natanz. That is a nuclear facility in central Iran's Isfahan city, which drew widespread criticism that act of violation of international law. So they are continuingly violating the international law, as they have no respect for international law. They think that the world belongs to them. It's a law of jungle. You can go in any countries, in any neighboring Middle Eastern country, Muslim country, and keep bombing them and killing them as much as you want. But this time, I think they got it wrong. This time, Ayatollah Khamenei, who's an 86-year-old religious leader, yet of course he's also commander-in-chief operator in their constitutional language, because their constitution is a constitution of Vilayat-e-Faqih, that head of jurist is the head of the state, which has over the commands, over the president and all that. Yes, they're claiming that they have eliminated many military commanders and things like that. Fair enough, that's what it happens. They will continue to do so. But it's a sad state of affair. That's all I can say. But this is what's going on, and I hope they both will realize whose mistake it is. It is registered. Oh yes, I've forgotten to mention. They're proudly saying that, Israelis, that, we didn't enter into the Iranian airspace. Where did we do? We hit the nuclear facility from the Iraqi airspace. Hello? Iraqi airspace? Is it not the international violation of airspace? I mean, Iraq, because that airspace is controlled by the Americans after the fall of Saddam Hussein and after the Iraqi war, the presence of the Americans in Iraq and all that. Because Iraq itself doesn't have their own autonomous army and air power over it. So they've used Iraqi airspace to actually come closer to the Iran and hitting that nuclear plant. So that, and of course, the Iraqis have immediately complained about it. Again, it's on record. You can check it out on the internet. That is all. They have record that they have violated the rules of international engagement, and they had no right to enter into Iraq to fire the missiles from there to Iran. But that's what I'm saying. They believe in impunity. They believe that nobody has a right to criticize them. Nobody has a right to say anything against them, because that's what they are. Invincible. Welcome back to the program, and that is indeed 93.9 Dublin South FM. So, going back to the point of my subject today, that I'm covering it intensively about the war, my line of action is peace, and the term that I've coined, I don't know how it will work out, is WAWA. Wow. That is the World Without War, World Without War Alliance. Because you got to come up with some sort of a structure, as like UN, United Nations, which has failed completely. Now a structure must be set up in different parts of the world rather than in the United States of America. But because world without war is something that is required. If you can create that organization, World Without War Alliance, that will stop war anywhere. Because you see, nobody is safe these days anywhere. I was shocked to see that continuously, 9 o'clock news, our own main news that I'm addicted to, of RT television has actually covers, with some dignity. In fact, those sort of things are not even covered by the BBC in the UK. So the UK people are in dark. Day before yesterday, I think it's yesterday's news, Mr. Putin has actually did a massive attack on Kyiv, residential apartments. People were sleeping there, and an MP was being interviewed this morning, actually, on RT Radio 1, and she was saying that it was a terrorist attack like 9/11. 400 drones have been attacked on a complex building, multi-layered, multi-story complex building, a residential building, and these drones are hitting just like a 9/11 plane hit the Twin Tower. Now imagine that happening today after, many years of 9/11, and then 15 years, in fact, 20 years almost. And then still that is happening. So why are people and the nations are bent upon, if you have a complex issue with the other nation, do discuss it amicably, do discuss it with dialogue, do sort it out between Putin and Zelensky, if that is the case. Putin and Zelensky is playing games in that sense that he's actually taking, the world and particularly Europe, and it's costing us 350 billion over the next 5 years. Europe, yes, indeed, and we are, of course, part of Europe. So it is our money as well that is going down the drain for the manufacturing of ballistic missiles, drones, and defense system. So this is illogic, complete illogic, illogically, that money has been poured into the war machines, rather than benefiting the common man. The development of the humanity, the development of the people is more important, and the infrastructure of the country, than the actual war machine. So this is a mindless thing. And the World Without War Alliance is World Without War Alliance is my initiative, that I'm talking to some intellectuals here, and we'll see that if it gets somewhere and if it gets off the ground, because we do have an organization called No War, but that they're doing absolutely no demonstrations on the streets. 2 wars are being, at peak, the Russian and Ukrainian war, and now the Israeli and Iranian war. So both of the wars are devastating its people. The people are fleeing like anything, just gathering anything in their cars, and they're running out of petrol or all that. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people are leaving Tehran, and Tehran has been under attack. So why? Because on a false pretext, that too on the false pretext that has been proven by International Atomic Energy that they were not building a nuclear, there were no threat to Israelis. And now recently, all the so-called Arab Alliance, in fact, the 57 countries, are spineless, I call it, because they don't have any kudos in the world's position. However, they keep saying that, we give you a guarantee that Israel will not be attacked, Israel would be existing, and we believe in two-state solution. And no, they don't believe in two-state solution. They want to eat it all. They have wiped out Gaza. Gaza is finished. No longer Gaza is there. Gazans are there. They don't want to hear about two-state solution. Two-state solution is buried and dead. Anyway, that's what it is. And indeed, hopefully, the world will come to its senses and will see some sort of a relief that people will come to their senses, and then they would realize that the world is worth living, because that's the only way that you can. Otherwise, it psychologically disturbs people. People don't get sleeps, and they don't get, worked up in their head. They're 24/7 addicted to the phones and emails and all that. That's something that is very, very disturbing.